Hi everyone, Luke from the Broken Meeple here. Last year, when I started Season 2, I did an FAQ video. These were questions that had been submitted to me either in comments on YouTube, in person, by email, on Facebook, on Twitter, and I kind of collated them together as well as gave an overview of what I do and how I do it. It wasn't the most popular video, I'll admit, sadly, but now I need to do another one. That's not to say that this is like the end of Season 2 and going on to Season 3, maybe more on that later, but I had a bunch of questions, they've been submitted to me and I've got them in a book here, you know, the most frequent ones that I get asked, and there was a few aspects that I wanted to talk about regarding the future development of this channel, and I need you guys to help me out on this with your feedback. Because at the end of the day, you're the guys watching this, and you know, I want to put stuff out that not only I enjoy to make, but also that you enjoy to watch. So it's a two-way thing, and therefore I need you to back me up on this. So all this is going to be is that I'm just going to read through a bunch of these questions, give my answers. I have seen the questions briefly, but I haven't had time to like plan all the answers out. So this is kind of on the fly. It's not scripted, but I've at least had a glance going, okay, yeah, that's a good question, that's a good question, that's a good question. But it's not like I've scripted out like a 5-page thing of how I'm going to go this. Because let's face it, that's not how I roll anyway. I do things on the fly, I ad-lib, it's the way I do things. So we're just going to get started with them and just go down the list really. So first one here, how do you decide what to review? Well, mainly I have a contact at Asmodee UK who I've known for a while, we get on very well, and I can make requests to him to send me certain games for review. On top of that though, it's mainly either third-party websites. I do the occasional review for GamesQuest and the occasional review for Zatu Games, Z-A-T-U, and you know, those ones aren't always review copies, they're just, oh, I have a game, I'll do a review for you, or a feature article. Those ones I get a bit of choice over what to take, of course, stock permitting. You know, if something's really popular, it's hard to get a copy of it. And I can, you know, find some obscure titles and the new hotness that way. Other than that, it comes out of my own pocket. I will decide, you know what, I want to review this game. People have been asking about it. Can't get a review copy? Fine. I'll go out and buy it myself, try it out. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe it'll go in my collection. Or maybe I need to sort of get rid of it and, you know, just move on. But that's generally how I decide what to review. Now, in terms of specific games, I'll try to get the new hotness if I can, but I have to be kind of realistic here. I'm not the Dice Tower. I'm not, you know, I'm not Rado. I'm not this massive entity among the board game industry. I'm just a guy who likes talking about games. I'm small fish. I'm the small fish in the lake here. So, in terms of the new hotness, I have to be able to get the game out early in order to get any views. Because at the end of the day, I still need views for this channel. Now, with games, it kind of varies as to, you know, which ones get more views than others. More on that maybe later. But certainly, with a new hotness, it's no good me picking a game that 20 other reviewers have already done, mainly because they got it in the US a bit faster than me. On top of that, I tend to be a little bit hesitant about campaign-style games because I don't always have the means to just marathon run the entire campaign in one go, whereas, you know, the bigger reviewers or people who live with a spouse who's also a gamer, for example, you know, I live alone, bear in mind, can simply just roll through the entire campaign and get their reviews out quicker. So I do have some aspects that I'm a little bit more selective on, but other than that, I kind of just pick what I fancy and get on with reviewing it. Why don't you timestamp your videos on top 10 lists? Well, mainly because that just takes a while to do. You know, to go through the entire video again after I've edited it and find out, right, let's see it. 3 minutes 70, 3 minutes 10, this one happened, and then go through, right, 6 minutes 40, that one, and then go through, 9 minutes 30, you know. When you're doing that, it takes a while, and, you know, the timestamp is there, so it's just something I don't normally do. Some people will put it in the, like, comments themselves, and I prefer that people didn't do that, because one problem also with timestamping a video is that I'm effectively giving you a list of the games that are in it. When I've taken the time to record a video and also to get it out there among the general public and edit it, I kind of want people to watch the video. I don't want people to read a list of games and that's it. You know, because then what's the point of me doing the video? Granted, you won't be able to get a description of the game from a list. You'll just know, oh, he likes that, 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 and that. And some people will prefer to hear a proper description of the game, which is great. But yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of timestamping videos. It's not the way I really want to do things. And some people like it that way, some people don't. I can't please everybody. Are there any particular genres or themes that you don't like in games? Woo, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Certainly when you're going by the heavier type of Euro games, I cannot stand 18xx. I tried it, hated it, never want to touch an 18xx game again. And partly is because one of my least favorite genres is a mix of, well, both really, trains and stock market or economic style games are usually my least favorite. I'm an accountant. I do it as a day job. It's my job. I don't love my work, but it pays the bills. It gets me a decent lifestyle. It allows me to buy games, but it's my day job. I don't go to work going, yay, I'm going to be an accountant. No, it's not going to happen like that. So when I play a game, I want a little bit of escapism. And I can't get that by playing economic games. I feel like I've just gone back to work and I'm expecting another paycheck through the door any time now. And a lot of these train games and stock market games just don't really care about theme much, or even aesthetics. Have you seen 18xx games? Oh my god. But even train games, not including Ticket to Ride. I love Ticket to Ride, but do you really class that as a train game? That could be anything. But friends of mine the other day were playing Martian Rails, and it's like you doodle on this board, drawing railroad tracks and connect up on this weird rhombus style grid that's meant to represent the world or something, and I just look at it and go, bleh! It's like horrible. And like I say, most economic games tend to bore me more. I'm not a fan of the train thing. I want, and certainly if it doesn't have theme at all, if it really just doesn't care about the theme, not if it's abstract. Abstract is fine. But if it's got such a boring theme like, say, trading in the Mediterranean, which we've seen done to death, then that's not a theme that I'm suddenly going to be able to get immersed in or roleplay or get, escape from reality in, because it just feels like I've gone back to work. And if a game feels like work, it's going to lose out on the enjoyment for me. So auction games can have that feel. Auction games don't necessarily feel thematic or perfect. It just feels like another form of economic game. That's why I don't like games like Power Grid, for example. Very dry, very economic, very brain-burning mathematic game with auctions. It's just, I mean, I get the idea. It's a good design, but it just bores me to death. It's not a game that I'm particularly fond of, and so I'm not really going to go mad for it when I see it on the table. So those kind of genres, stock market, economic, trains, not really something I gun for. Is it really just you doing everything? Well, yeah. Have you seen anybody else on this show? Believe me, I would love to have a co-host. Someone sitting here so that I could, rub off them and, get the banter between us. It could be I wish I had a girlfriend that loves games as much, but even just a friend who was into games who would be willing to sort of just sit there, be available on a regular basis and talk about games. I'd probably love that. I might need a different camera to sort of get wide angle, but, it would be great. Similar with the podcast. I do all that by myself. I don't have somebody nearby who's willing to record things like, say, like the Polyhedron Collider do, because they're a group of friends who can meet up on a regular basis. They know each other's wives and girlfriends, so they can meet up and do these podcasts really easily. And I know we have a thing called the internet, but it's not quite the same when you're trying to, go across different time zones and different things. It's why I do guest appearances more than actually have someone, like loads of people on said podcast. Because when you've got all the different audio tracks in different locations around the world, editing it is a nightmare. Trust me, I have done it before, and it's not something I'm keen on doing. But yeah, just me. Camera's just there, nobody's operating it. I just set it up and, sit in the right place. So I'm kind of on the, if you're known photography where they do things in thirds. I kind of sit here on a third, so I've got space here to put pictures and that. But the lighting is just set up. Nobody's controlling it. Nobody's in the other room with Audacity. I'm just praying it works every time I do it. It's just me. And granted, it's a lot of work. But I enjoy doing it. I like to blog. I like to talk about games. So I've been continuing on with it for as long as I have. But yeah, I'm not opposed to the prospect of, I mean, the dream would be I meet a girl, she loves games as much as I do, doesn't have to be a veteran gamer, just has to be someone who loves games, who would be willing to get on camera, sit there and just run banter. We could review games together and that. I would love that. Just hasn't really happened in the 5 years I've been doing this, so it has just been me, and like I say, for the time being, it's going to continue like that. What software do you use to edit videos? I currently use Camtasia. What am I on? 8, I think. I think there's a 9, but I'm on 8. Whatever it is. Not the most recent version, the one before it. Camtasia has worked for me so far. It's very kind of user-friendly. It only has so much in the way of toys to play with though when it comes to the editing. Like, captions, annotations, animations, that kind of thing. It's quite simplistic. And that's good and bad. It didn't take me long to learn the ins and outs of it, and as time has gone on, as you notice from season 1 of this channel in my old flat compared to now, the quality has improved. At least I hope it has. And a lot of that has come down to my learning the software and getting more into it and learning more about video editing in general. But there is a downside to Camtasia. As I said, it's got limited toys. There's only so much I can do with it. If I had a more involved piece of software, the learning curve would be steeper, but I'd be able to do more cool stuff on the channel. Camtasia is more useful for when you do tutorial videos or screen captures. I did a few videos a while back where I tried to play board game apps on my PC. Unfortunately, the series didn't do very well, so I kind of canned it. But with that one, it was easy, because all I had to do was sit at my PC and hit record. That was it. It recorded my PC screen and what I was doing, and my webcam got me a little picture of myself in the corner, whereas you could see the app everywhere else. I thought it would be a great idea. Unfortunately, people just weren't really willing to watch it, as the views suggest, so I just gave up doing it. But, that's more what Camtasia is for. It can do the videos I'm doing now, but it's got limited scope, and I would like to move to Adobe Premiere Pro. Problem: it's a subscription, and not a cheap one. It's like £19 a month just to get Adobe Premiere Pro. I would then have to learn the software. Now granted, I've done video editing for a few years now, so I've gotten more used to it, but again, learning a whole piece of software, especially one like Adobe, which could have lots of new toys on it, it's gonna take me a while to get used to the interface and to even understand what half of the toys are. And Adobe is not the most user-friendly interface, you've got to admit. I still struggle with Photoshop, understanding what half of the stuff does on there. You have to do courses on Adobe products in order to get used to them. And, I would like to try it, but it's the cost factor. I have a Patreon campaign that runs, but it barely meets my hosting fees and website fees, each month. And I would need it to be higher in order to actually afford Adobe Premiere Pro each month. If it did rise higher, if it could meet its first goal, because, to be fair, the Patreon's not doing great, but if it could reach its first goal, I'd be able to get Adobe Premiere Pro. And I'd just let the Patreon pay for that. I could learn the software then. I might even be able to just pay out of my own pocket to go on a course to learn the software, and it would be great. And from there, I could say, right, there's the transition into Season 3 as the video quality improves. But for now, it's Camtasia. It was cheap. It was a one-off cost. If I want to upgrade to a better piece of software, then I need to think about the money concerns. Whatever happened to the board game approved segment? Well, I've kind of just answered that one already. I did it, and I do enjoy it. They were easy videos to make. You pretty much just had to sit there and talk whilst I was playing an app game. And I enjoyed it because I love playing those games. And I got to talk about it as I was playing it, make jokes, reference the AI, review it in a sense. But problem was, even for the fact that it didn't take as much effort and time to do those videos as, say, a full review or especially a top 10 list, nobody really wanted to watch it. I mean, I'll put some stuff on for this so you can see examples, but check out these views. Very few people wanted to watch these. I did a separate video for tutorial modes, I did a separate video for the actual game. They were quite long, and granted, most people don't want to watch a video for too long, but then you're doing a whole playthrough. You could make edited snippets, but then you're kind of losing the continuity of how the game progresses, not to mention that's a lot more editing time. But they just didn't get the views. I mean, if a video is only going to get about 100 views, it's really not worth doing. The time it takes to get that video out and edit it and do all the stuff for it isn't worth it if you're only going to break a couple hundred views. It really isn't. So if there's a way to improve it, or a way that you would like to see it that would guarantee more views, then I'm all open. But it got to a point where I just realised nobody's watching this, nobody's really caring, they're watching the other videos, and so I just canned it. Maybe I'll resurrect it another time, but unlikely unless some big revelation happens that changes the appreciation for those videos. Do you do any recording at conventions, and which ones do you attend regularly? I've only just started trying recording at conventions. Usually I don't. I tried some recording at the UK Games Expo earlier. I had the gimbal swivel stick, and that allowed me to, like, sort of use my mobile phone as a camera in more professional quality. The phone's a decent camera anyway, it's a Samsung Galaxy S8, and so the camera on it's really good. But it was able to have it on a stabilizer so it didn't jerk around like crazy when I was moving about. So I didn't really do interviews because I didn't have the setup for it, but I was able to basically hold it or put it on a stand and then essentially play the game and show off footage of that. It was a very hit and miss affair though. Firstly, it takes a lot of organisation to actually take all that with you, drag it round, put the video, set it up. It's a lot of effort while you're out and about. And that's just me with a mobile phone and a stabiliser. Think of the people like, Two Can Play That Game and a few other people out there who are carrying around tripods and massive setups. It's a lot of work. But also the views, again, I don't think people are that interested in convention footage anymore. I did a bunch of games, and we're talking new hotness games, stuff that had not been released yet, stuff that people were really asking for. But check out these figures, have a look here. You can see that, Century Eastern Wonders, Ticket to Ride New York, Chronicles of Crime, these are games that people are asking about, and yet people weren't really interested in watching them. Now, I did have one or two weird sort of cases. For some reason, everybody wanted to watch a playthrough of Agricola All Creatures Great and Small. But that's not even a game that's new. The big box is new, yeah, but the game's been out for a fair few years, so I'm quite curious why that one got a lot more popularity. Now, there's only so much effort for editing the videos. You pretty much just have an intro and an outro, and there you go, just put your video in. But again, it was a lot of effort to do it, and people just weren't really that interested in watching it. And I have to admit, me personally, I'm not very interested in convention footage either. I'd rather watch a proper review of a game or a top 10 list. I'm not too desperate to listen to all the interviews between so-and-so and X designer or X publisher. I'd rather talk to them myself, or just keep on touch with the news, or engage with them on social media in a sense. So if I'm not desperately interested in convention footage, I can see why maybe other people aren't either. Maybe I'll do it for next year, maybe change up the tack, get a little microphone I can do interviews with people with, but I don't know. It's a lot of effort to do, and I just don't feel that it generates the views or that people are that interested in it. So, yeah, I haven't gone mad for it. With regards to conventions I attend regularly, there's quite a few now. I've kind of cherry-picked my favourites. I do want to go to more, though. I do like a lot of conventions, but yeah, I had to sort of kind of say, yeah, you know what, these are the ones I prefer. So the ones that I go to pretty much every year, if I can help it, is UK Games Expo. Always love going to that one. That is a surefire hit. I try to go to Essen every year. I did miss one year, but I'm going this year. So I'll see you in October 2018, and I hope to go every year to Essen. But it is more of an investment. It's a high cost, but Essen is very enjoyable. You get a lot of new releases, and I get to see a lot of people that I don't often see from around the world at Essen, so it's worth going to it. In terms of something a bit more local, because I haven't really been able to go anywhere near America and all their great conventions, because, well, America takes a while and it's not cheap, okay? I'm not made out of money here. But local ones, I always go to a very local one in Southampton called StabCon South. It's basically just a hotel, some rooms, come play games. That's it. Board Game Extra sometimes does some retailing there. But apart from that, it's basically just meet up and play games. It's the Jury's Inn, usually twice a year, maybe even 3 times sometimes. And it's a great convention. I get to meet up with local friends, but also some other new people who I've never met before. And it's just a friendly atmosphere. On top of that, there is also, try to think of other conventions. Come on, come on. I've been to Uncon once before. I'll try and make that a semi-regular appearance. But Uncon is run by good friend of mine, Darius Truman. Sorry, I can't pronounce your surname. But he and his friends and that they run a small convention up in kind of Ramsgate area in the other end of Kent. And they do a good job with that. It's very good for new players, families, and kids. So it's very open to new people into gaming as opposed to the serious gamer, the ones who are playing like 4-hour games of Terraforming Mars or something. But it's a very nice convention. They're very lovely people, and like I say, I go there every now and again. Not necessarily every single convention that they've done, but certainly I do like to pop over there now and again. It's at the other side of Kent. Trying to think of others. Let's see. Oh yes, of course, HandyCon. Yeah, I go to HandyCon every time. That happens twice a year, usually January and August. That's run by Paul Harris, and he and his mates do a great job of running that convention. It's very enjoyable. Again, you just go to around Maidenhead into a Holiday Inn, meet there, play some games. There's a few things to buy, there's a bring and buy, but mostly it's just go there and play games. And I get to see a lot of friends there and some people who have watched the channel and that, and it's just a great atmosphere. The last one I went to was really good since they moved location, so I'm looking forward to the one in January. We may not see eye to eye on a lot of games and just generally a lot of discussion points when it comes to games, but he runs a great convention, and at the end of the day, it's only a game. So, like I say, we have fun, we get on. It's a great one, so HandyCon, I'm always there twice a year. Oh, my other thinking, come on, there's other conventions. I did used to go to SawCon. I don't often get to go to that one anymore. This is one that was held, it's held in Basildon. And I used to go to that one, but it's kind of hard. The timing of that one in February just doesn't sit well with my calendar, because February and March, I am run off my feet with, doing stuff at work, and it just means I don't get a lot of spare time to go to a convention. Although I have been there before, I'll occasionally go to it. It's just I'm in an ahhing really. However, AirCon that happens in March, that's done by Mark Cook up in Harrogate. I go to that one every year. It is a trek to drive there, I admit, but again, go there, see some exhibitors, see some retail stuff, do a bring and buy, but just go there and play games. But you have the added bonus that I get to meet a lot of people who live in the north, who can't get to the southern conventions much, so I get to meet them. But also, Mark Cook's a great guy. I love him and his mates, they do a good job with this convention. But on top of that, Harrogate's a lovely location. I mean, it's up, we're talking like York area, and the town itself is like, it's beautiful. I don't know if it's a city or a town, but it's a beautiful area. There's great restaurants to go to. One of the best tea rooms I've been into, one of the best Chinese restaurants I've been into. Great hotels, plenty of accommodation nearby. Everything's within walking distance. It's a lovely area, and that's a convention I really do enjoy going to each year. That's every early March, I believe. Trying to think, is there any more conventions I can think of? Not off the top of my head. That seems to be the most regular ones I go to. I do want to try others. I have tried ManaCon. Was alright, but July, kind of like want to go on holiday and that around that point. Wasn't as big a fan of MidCon when I tried that one, so I don't go to that one much anymore. I have yet to try BayCon. I think it's down in Exeter. I probably missed it now or something. I don't know. Is it early September, I believe BayCon is, or is it April? It's one of the two. But I know there's an Exeter convention that I haven't been to yet. It's usually clashed with things that I'm doing. I would like to go to that one next year. I would like to give it a shot, because it sounds like a really good convention, and I know friends who go there. So maybe next year is the time. So that's pretty much the list of conventions that I go to. The dream would be to go to America and go to something like Dice Tower Con. Maybe not Gen Con, that's probably a bit too big for me, but certainly maybe something like Origins or PAX Unplugged. But certainly Dice Tower Con, I would love to go to that. It costs a lot to fly and stay over in America though, so do I want to pay all that money just to go to a gaming convention? I kind of need to pair it up with something else. But, pipe dream. We can dream, right? So what are these DICE events that you keep speaking of? Yes, I keep talking about charity events and DICE events that I go to. Two friends of mine, well, I didn't know them before, Lee Purslow and Ricky Parsons, they started a board game cafe Kickstarter called DICE Portsmouth in Portsmouth, where I'm from. Or where I'm living anyway, not where I'm from originally. But I digress. And for a couple of years, they ran this Kickstarter, it funded, and they struggled to get commercial property in Portsmouth that would fit the bill for what they were doing. They were just unlucky with landlords that they had to deal with, but now they are this close to completion. They are already renovating a property that they've got, it looks great, they're nearing opening time. Oh, I cannot wait to see how this place turns out. I've been waiting for this so long. But you know, when they were doing the whole negotiating with landlords period and trying to get property and doing the Kickstarter, they run a lot of events where they would hire out a place, like Gunwall Quays somewhere, or like the Dockyard, or even just a cafe somewhere, and they would just bring games. They'd bring games, they'd show them off to people, and I would usually volunteer to come and help teach because I had games that could plug in some of the gaps, and I know a lot of games, so I was able to help with that. And it wasn't just those events that I helped out with. A coffee shop in Cosham near me, I forget what it's called. Is it called a Good Home or just Home Coffee? Something like that. I think it's called Home Coffee. But there's a charity, we call it Board at Home, and basically, you know, a little event is run there, and it's co-run with Dice Portsmouth. But, you know, I go there every now and again, and I'll teach a few games while I'm there, enjoying just a nice coffee or a tea. It's very, you know, light-hearted. It's a simple affair, but again, very nice to do. And there've just been other ad hoc events that have either had Dice's name on it, or sometimes Board in the City's name on it. They're a Southampton gaming cafe. And with those, you know, I did a Comic Con recently in Portsmouth. I taught games along with Dice Portsmouth there. There was a Retro Games Fest in Portsmouth only in mid-August, and I spent 12 hours, you know, teaching games solidly for that, and that was great fun. But again, you know, I just come along and volunteer to teach. I don't ask for payment. At most, I just ask, can you at least get me as much water as I can drink? Can you buy me a pint? Can you feed me? Apart from that, I don't ask for anything else. I just love to teach games, and I ride that adrenaline high for the rest of the day. It's something I really enjoy. And these events pop up every now and again, but probably when the cafe opens, there'll be a few less of them. But I still like to go along to small conventions or small events where they're saying, oh, we're going to bring a bunch of games and teach people who have never seen games before. Oh, would you like a hand? You know, I enjoy it. I even did a mini one recently, a Gamescom. Tiny little convention run in Emsworth by a friend of mine from a gaming club. I went there, taught a few games. I just like doing it, and it helps out the people that are involved with it. It's something I get a kick out of. So that's basically what I mean when I talk about dice events or charity events. It's just something gets hosted that involves games, I volunteer to teach games, I go along, I do it, and I enjoy it. How do you fund the channel? My own pocket, basically. I have a Patreon account that runs, you know, consistently, but it barely gets me about 25 bucks a month. You know, not a lot of people want to pay for a small fry to support the channel, which, you know, those who are involved in the Patreon campaign, I love you. Thank you for so much. But, you know, it's not like I'm going to be something like Heavy Cardboard where Patreon campaigns get them enough to pretty much live on each month. But that's pretty much the only way it gets funded. I get a few review copies from people like Asmodee and that, you know, every now and again. And the Patreon helps to pay for some website hosting fees, like I've got to pay to host the podcast, my blog site, that kind of thing. But other than that, camera equipment, the lighting, the games that I don't get as review copies, all out of my pocket. You know, living alone and not having kids or a pet does kind of help to have some extra cash on the hip. So it has allowed me to get to this stage. But I kind of reached a bottleneck where I can't go much further because there's only so much money I have if I want to save and keep myself in a, you know, keep myself living on an okay lifestyle. But that's pretty much the deal. Review copies and a tiny bit from Patreon, that's really the only income I get. You know, YouTube does not really pay a lot of revenue to people unless you've got millions and millions of views for every video. Me, I love to go on about, oh, I've got more than 1,000 views for this video, and I love that. When something gets to 10,000 views, oh my god, I'm loving it, and that's such a rare occasion. But yeah, I'll be lucky if I get like about a few dollars, a month or something from something like YouTube, because I'm not just, I don't have that kind of that fan base. So yeah, funding is mainly just out of my pocket. This is a good one. Do you fear that your honest but blunt approach will alienate you from some groups? Not really. Although you are right, that can happen. You know, people have commented, both good and bad, with the style I have for doing these videos. They will say that, you know, some people, more people are positive than they are negative in saying that they love the honest approach I do. The fact that I will just tell you bluntly if I love or hate a game. I will go on saying, oh, I love Sentinels in the Multiverse, or I love Scythe, I love Abyss or something, and go on in passionate detail about why I love it and give you my opinion. On the flip side, I will gladly rant about how much I cannot stand Food Chain Magnate, Concordia, 18xx games, you know, Great Western Trail, whatever, you know, games that I detest. And I will happily just say outright, I don't like it. But I'll give my reasons why. But the catch is that I don't think less of you for liking a game I don't like. I'm just glad that you have a game that you love, enjoy, and are willing to play. Doesn't matter if I enjoy it, what does it matter? I'm not the guru of board games, I'm not like the god or, you know, the overseer of games. It's just, these are games I like, these are games you like. We can all get on in perfect harmony. You know, it's not difficult. But it does work mostly positive. A lot of people love that honest approach I do, and that's the way I want to work. So most of the reason that I like certain people on YouTube is because I love the fact that they are 100% honest with what they do. They're not bought out by publishers, they don't feel skewed to tell positive reviews all the time. I mean, I'm not a fan when somebody does nothing but positive reviews. I want to see some negativity from the person, because then it means they actually are considering both sides of the coin and not just simply saying something nice so they can get more review copies. I've seen it done. But, you know, people that I watch online are people like, well, I love the Dice Tower, obviously, that's how I got started, but I love their honesty with games. They will happily rag on a game, they will happily, you know, praise a game. But in other stuff, not board game related, I watched a Nostalgia Critic. He criticises on, you know, movies and old TV shows and stuff like that. But he will say good stuff and bad stuff, and he's 100% honest in what he does. And I love him for that. Angry Joe, I watch him to get video game reviews. He in no way is bought out by people like, you watch IGN and GameSpot, their reviewers are just bought out like crazy. The industry is just so bad. Angry Joe, though, tells you how it is, and bluntly. That's what I want from a reviewer. It doesn't matter if I agree with the decision or not, or agree with the verdict, but I want someone to give me their passionate, honest opinion and tell me why. If I don't agree with the opinion, doesn't matter. I was entertained by hearing their viewpoint. If I do agree, again, same outcome. I was entertained by their viewpoint, so either way, I'm happy. So it's the same approach I want to do. It can affect negatively, I must admit. There are some people that I just, you know, as much as I want to get on with as many people as I like, you can't please everybody. Some people, when you don't like a game, they will treat it as if you have insulted or punched the face of their first newborn child. They will take it way too seriously and basically hate you for life, even though you're just a guy talking about games. These people exist. I know them. I know them frequently on Facebook groups and Twitter and stuff like that. You just gotta drown them out. You know, you can't please everybody. Some people will take it too seriously. Some people will just, you know, want to see the world burn for old time's sake and just can't handle the fact that people have different opinions and different reasons why they like or dislike something. But that's a relatively small number compared to the people who like it as a positive outcome. And that's why I'll continue to do it this way. Yeah, okay, I fear it's going to alienate from some people, but at the end of the day, most of those people just can't take other people's opinions or are too busy like going, how dare you hate this game, I love it to bits, or from now on, we are enemies. It's like, come on, it's only a game. Why do you think I keep saying that at the end of every review video in top 10? It's only a game. Well, remember, it's only a game. I say it because of this point. That's why I say it. Does it always work? No. But, oh well, that's the internet for you. Have you considered live streaming, aka Twitch or other means? I have, but again, this goes back to the fact that I've only got so many funds and only so much of a knowledge base. To do things like Twitch and live streaming requires a decent setup, not to mention good knowledge of how live streaming works. I have never viewed anything on Twitch, I have never used Twitch. I have no idea how to even begin using Twitch, let alone what I would do. I mean, do I need multiple cameras to get multiple views of a game? You know, do people want to watch me play a game live when I could just record it? You know, it's not something I'm desperate to do, but I wouldn't say no to it if there was a, you know, an audience for it, or if there was a main reason why I should do it live rather than record it. But mainly it's just I don't think I have the camera set up to do it, nor the space. You know, bear in mind in the UK we are packed in like sardines when it comes to houses compared to Americans. And I just don't know anything really about live streaming, so I've never really gone too much further down that road, to be honest. So that's kind of the way it is with that. What is on your need to playlist? Need to playlist? I'm trying to think. Oh, there's gonna be some. Well, I certainly need to play. I got a shrink copy of Tao Long, The Way of the Dragon in there. It's a 2-player abstract game. I've heard good things. I really would like to try and get that played. I don't own it, but I really want to try Dragon Castle. It's a game that's just eluded me. I really want to try it. Nobody I know owns it, so I haven't really been able to learn it much lately. What else? What else do I really want to play? As much as this will surprise some people, I would like to play Terraforming Mars with that Prelude expansion. Everything I hear about this Prelude expansion sounds like it will fix the biggest problems I have with the game. And if it does, fantastic. Maybe it could actually fall off my overrated list and start becoming a game I actually want to play. But I need to try that one first. I did have Role Player on that list, but I got to play it recently at HandyCon, so it's no longer a need to play. I've kind of already played it. What else? Is there a game that isn't in my collection that I want to play? Well, I've got a copy of Werewords Deluxe up there, but I already know how to play Werewords, so that's kind of nothing new. Come on, there must be something. Feudum. Feudum's on my list. You know, that big, heavy monster of a Euro game, but with weird components and artwork. It's caught my attention. Certainly want to try it, but would it just like overwhelm me in how complex and time consuming it is? I don't know. Certainly I want to play that one more than Founders of Gloomhaven. When you compare the two, yeah, I want to play Feudum. Everdell, I think it's called Everdell, or is it Evendell? I think it's Everdell. The one with the giant tree sort of component and you're drafting cards. That one I really want to try. Looks very pretty, looks like a fairly straightforward game with a bit of meat. Sounds like it would be up my alley. Just don't know anybody else who's got it, because I think mostly the only way you can get hold of it is the Kickstarter ones, so not much from there. On a similar line, Root, the asymmetrical game that's kind of like an easier version of, what was it? Something Caverns? What was it called? Oh, Vast. That was it, yeah. Kind of like an easier version of Vast. Didn't kickstart it, barely even heard of it. Wouldn't mind trying it though, from what I've heard about it. Other than that though, I can't think of anything that's on my I must playlist. Everything I've got in my collection I've played. The stuff coming out, might be able to get a copy of Carson City soon, like the big box edition. I have not played Carson City. I would like to try that one, because that sounds like a cool worker placement game. Not necessarily a fan of Western themes, but sounds like something I could really get my teeth into. Will you be doing any playthroughs of games in the future? Now, this is going on to what I also want to talk about more detail later in this video, but yes, I do want to do playthroughs. Now, playthroughs are hard to do. I tried to do some playthroughs before, like teaching rules and that in Season 1. Hit and miss. You get a rule wrong and you will get hounded for it. Not to mention you need a good setup in order to do playthroughs, and there's only so much space in here with the lighting. But I had an idea of doing playthroughs of solo modes in games. Solo gaming is a big thing. I love to play games solo. I'm kind of forced to half the time. But there's a big audience out there for solo games. And one thing I noticed with playthroughs, from people who do it great, you know, Rodney Swift does a great job with the playthroughs, Rado did a great job, you know, and other people have done, you know, Dice Tower and some other reviewers have done good playthroughs. But one thing I noticed, they never tackle the solo mode. I mean, granted, there's maybe 1 or 2 people out there who do nothing but solo modes, but I'm not aware of which ones they are. And, you know, it's something that goes unmissed. I mean, you could find a playthrough for The Gallerist. Fine, here's a playthrough video of how to play a multiplayer game of Gallerist. What about the solo mode? Can't find a video of that easily enough. You know, has anyone showed a video of playing a Nyrim? A coffee roaster? Dinosaur Island solo, Anachrony solo mode. You know, there's more solo modes coming out for games that aren't just simply play a multiplayer game by yourself. and there's no playthrough videos for those. So I would like to actually try and tackle that end of the market. Now, this is where I need feedback from you guys. Firstly, do you want to see that? Solo playthroughs. Some people have already come back to me and said, yeah, this would be a great idea, do it. I need kind of a mass appeal of this. Is this something you would like to see? Because what I'm contemplating is I might be able to do it where I have this camera that I'm using tilted down to face the board. And it won't be directly above, I haven't got that set up, but I can do it at an angle, and hopefully the lens will allow me to zoom in close. I might have to switch up, we'll have to see. But then I've also got that gimbal thing I mentioned, the stabilizer with my mobile phone. So I could do a mix of sort of Dice Tower and Rado style, where the camera is on the board in one part of the picture, but then the rest of it, so maybe say the camera does a small bit in the corner for the game board, and then my handheld approach, doing it a bit like Rado, but with less motion sickness, does the rest of the board, and I talk through what I'm doing with the solo mode. I could even put the mobile phone on the stand and just have that as a secondary picture. So you can watch two different angles. All I got to do is just marry the two videos together, get the audio right, and I might be able to do that with a solo mode. That's what I'm contemplating. Is this something you would like to see? If so, give me some feedback. You know, is there ways that I could do it a bit easier? Should I consider this? Should I consider that? Would you like to see solo playthroughs of games? In which case, are there any games in particular you'd like to see a solo mode of? Particularly ones you've seen in my top 100 or behind me in the collection? You know, it's something that I'm contemplating doing. But I gotta make certain that people want to see it, because a lot of effort has to go into doing a playthrough video. You can't get rules wrong, or at least you should ideally never get a rule wrong when you're doing a playthrough, because people will rely on it to learn the game. And it requires, like I say, two different camera setups. I've got to marry them together and do the audio as well, so it'll be a bit of an editing mission. It's something new, which means I've got to get used to doing it. And obviously I've got to play the game itself, which could take anything from, like, you know, 20 minutes to 2 hours depending on the game. I think for a longer solo mode I would probably edit the video and do like, oh, this is me a few turns later or something, you know, because to do it all the way through I think would just take too long. Plus, how much data do you think I can get on the mobile phone for recording a 2-hour video? So is this something that you would like to see? Give me some feedback, I want to know more. But this is something I am seriously considering for this channel, doing solo mode playthroughs. Let me know your thoughts. Been loving the top 100 list as we've been going through it, and enjoy the top 10 list as well. Is this something you're going to continue, and will there be a greater emphasis on these over reviews? This is something I've also been kind of umming and ahhing, because this is again something I need feedback from you guys for. I love doing reviews. I really love doing top 10 lists. They're my favourite thing to watch, they're my favourite thing to do. Top 10 lists require a bit more effort though. But saying that, reviews are starting to require a bit more effort as well. Because you obviously need to have gone and played the game several times, and then you need to articulate your thoughts, and then to edit it I need the right pictures, I need to make certain that even though I ad-lib for the most part, that it's got a semi kind of structure to it. And then also, because I do those gags at the start of every video, I've got to think of a gag to do and then obviously record that bit. And sometimes that can take a while to edit, particularly if I've done some weird tomfoolery with the sequence. You know, so one thing for certain first, do you even really care about those gags at the start of review videos? Because, or top 10 lists? Because if you don't like them, then I'll take them out. Because it would save me a lot of editing time if I literally just started with an intro. I'll leave that to you guys. But I enjoy doing them, but they are quite a big chunk of the editing time to think of a gag and do it. And some games you just can't think of a gag for. I've had games that are just pretty much like they write the gag themselves, and there's other games where I'm like, what am I supposed to say about this generic trading in the Mediterranean Euro game? What am I supposed to do? Is that funny? You know, and now that most people can't do funny gags when it comes to games. I mean, everybody loves, you know, shut up and sit down. Personally, I don't find them that funny, but that's just me. You know, so humor is a difficult thing to sort of get with, like, making a gag about the board game. But with reviews and top 10s, I'm starting to get better at editing top 10s in a faster time. I've got a good format. The top 100, as you've just seen, was a particularly good format where it was like, you know, there's the number. Tools are set up on my Camtasia so I can do them relatively quickly. Just one picture for each game. You know, you don't need loads of pictures of the game because chances are people have heard of the game already or can just go on Board Game Geek and find out more. Mainly you just want to hear my thoughts on a game. And yeah, I do want to do more top 10 lists. Not necessarily top 10 by designer or publisher or mechanic. I might do some mechanic ones, but publisher and designer tends to get a little bit boring after a while. So I want to do more unusual top 10s, or some that people have been crying out for. So now that the top 100 is done, for example, I've got 2 that people suggested, which I really want to do. Firstly, top 10 solo games. Yeah, definitely want to do that. I could do top 20, top 30 probably, but you know, got to try and do a top 10. But on top of that, I'm also doing top 10 games I've spent too much money on but love anyway. So, you know, that's going to be an interesting list. It's something different. And I love watching Dice Tower top 10 lists all the time. I love them to bits. And I love their weird ones. Exciting endings, ones that stress us out, lunchtime games, camping games, you know, essentials for a good game store, annoying gamers. You know, I love all the weird, quirky ones that they do. And they've got the advantage of having 3 people banter off each other, but at least I can do a solo top 10 list and still have fun with it. So there will be more top 10 lists in the future. Because another thing I have to bear in mind is my own time, my own free time. I haven't got a girlfriend at the moment, so some time has freed up, but I've got to think about my career. I've got to obviously cater for a house by myself and go out and have a social life. So I can't do nothing but blog. I need to do something, otherwise I'll just hit burnout. But reviews can take a while to edit, and it's hit and miss as to whether it was worth doing. With a top 10 list, a lot of people love watching the top 10 lists. So, you know, and to be fair, it's expanded a lot since last year. I mean, look at these figures here. For the top 100 list from last year, this is what the views they have had now, after a year of being online. Now look at the views I have had for this year's top 100. Some of these have been out for a matter of days. Some of them, probably some of them haven't even been out for more than a month. And this is the views they've got. Compared to the rest of last year, like being a year, it's jumped up. But forgetting the top 100 aside, top 10 lists are just more popular. You know, they easily break 1,000 views. Normally, some go on to ridiculous levels. My most loved video is my top 10 overrated games. Yeah, people do like to hear me rant on games now and again. So everybody who says about being too negative, top 10 overrated games has got over 12,000 views. So come on, it kind of speaks for itself. But then my top 10 underrated games has got over 10,000 views. That level of views is something I can beg for with every video. Most of the time, I'm just happy it breaks 1,000. But the top 10 lists tend to regularly break 1,000 and go up. Some more than others, but you know, generally the top 10s are popular. So even though they take a little bit more time to do, I'm willing to put in the time for that because more people want to watch them. Reviews are hit and miss because it's hard to gauge whether a review is going to get a lot of views. Brass that I did, the Kickstarter Brass, that was a surefire hit. There weren't many reviews out of it at the time. Everybody wanted to hear about it, and that one has got over 5,000 views and it's done really well. Perfect. I was glad I did that review. Let's contrast that with some others. You know, we got things like Empires of the Void 2, very popular, got a lot of views. Rising Sun, very popular, got a lot of views. Dinosaur Island, very popular, got a lot of views. But then, consider these games that I thought were going to be popular, but then didn't. Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Barely anybody has watched that. A couple hundred people is like nothing. And some of these other ones, you know, Petrichor, only 400 views, you know, Abyss Leviathan, you know, an expansion. Expansions aren't as popular as a base game to review, I admit, but again, only about 500 views. And if a review video doesn't break 500, I question whether it was worth me doing the review in the first place because of the time and effort it takes. And so I have to be careful what games I do review. I'm starting to maybe do more written reviews for the games I don't think will get a lot of views because at least somebody wants to know about them, but I can churn out a written review a bit quicker than a video. Videos I would probably want to hone in on the games that I know are going to be great. But even that's hard to gauge. I've got like rocket amount of views for a Carcassonne expansion. And not even a popular one. Really? That was going to get me thousands of views? What happened with that video? That just went out of control. But then, on the flip side, I've done games where I think, oh yeah, this will be popular, everybody wants to know about it. And it barely breaks a few hundred views. What gives? Was I too late to the party? Did I gauge it wrong? Who knows? You know, some of these videos are starting to break 1,000 views, but let's bear in mind, they've been out for months. These top 10 lists will usually get all the views within the space of a couple of weeks and still continue climbing. The review videos certainly like to take their sweet time to get going, and some of them never reach a peak. Is it worth doing a review video if I get less than 1,000 views for it? I don't know. It's a lot of effort. You got to come up with that guy, you got to do the playing, you got to do everything, and all that takes time. Would that time have been better spent maybe on doing another podcast episode? Would a top 10 list have been better? The idea that I want to do these solo playthrough games, would that be a better idea? So this is kind of what I need to know from you guys. You know, do you prefer the reviews? Do you prefer the top 10 lists? Do you want to see more of one than the other? You know, because I need to think about my spare time. And I'm in an R-ing doing more top 10 lists and focusing on that and doing less reviews, but really getting the important stuff to review. The stuff that I think is really going to be important to you out there. You want to know about these particular games. I'm less inclined to do reviews on expansions because it still takes the same amount of time, but not many people are interested in the expansions. Maybe they would be better to solely review on the podcast. You know, maybe they should just be written reviews. You know, what do you guys think? And on the subject of the podcast, how many people are listening to it? It's easier to gauge how many people are listening to YouTube videos, but it's very difficult to analyze how many people are listening to my podcast. So I don't know if it's popular or whether no one's known of it. Some people do come up to me and say, oh yeah, I listened to you on the podcast or something. Yeah, I recognize the voice. So somebody's listening to it, but it's hard to gauge how much it's, you know, doing well. And I've been trying to do one every 2 weeks and I just keep failing at it because of the time I have to spend on the YouTube channel, that I'm lucky if I do one a month. So do I make the podcast more regular? This is kind of the stuff I need from you guys. I need you to tell me what you feel I could do with this channel. More reviews, less reviews, more top 10s, less top 10s, more podcast episodes. Maybe not bother with a podcast, who knows? It's difficult when the podcast is by yourself. You know, most people prefer the banter aspect, but doing a podcast is a relatively simple thing to do. Stand up, microphone, talk. Edit, put the whole lot, intro, outro. That's pretty much all you have to do for a podcast. So it doesn't require as much time and effort. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for the channel. Solo playthroughs, definitely considering. Reviews versus top 10s. Top 10s get more views. I prefer them. They are ones I love to watch. But I can't ignore reviews. Where do I strike the balance? And the podcast, what's the future of that? So I'm going to wrap it up for this FAQ because I've had to turn the camera off and on twice now because of how long this video is going to be. So I might even have to split this FAQ into 2 separate videos because I know what people are like when I have stupidly long videos. But I think that was all the questions. Yep, that was it for now. So thanks for sending those in and getting them on the comments. You know, by all means, keep sending questions. If I get a more regular influx of questions about games or about what I do, you know, myself, the channel, then I might do more of these FAQ videos every now and again. But for now, thanks for listening. I hope this was informative to some of you. I would certainly greatly appreciate the feedback you can give on the questions I've asked. And even then, just thank you for watching the channel and showing your support. Love you guys so much. Remember, it's only a game, and I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review video. Take care, and good night.